Thank you for coming. I got the legendary Dalen, Ebony. Um, it's good to have you here. Like I
Thank
said,
you.
I've been doing a lot of Ohio people, Midwest people lately, so it's good to get another one in. Also, got a lot of love for the it's not the OKI, the OKI and Pittsburgh. Like we were just saying, it's like so close together. It feels like all one thing.
Yeah.
So tell me first how you got introduced to ballroom. No, yeah, tell me where you from originally, and then how you got introduced to ballroom.
Okay. I'm originally from Erie, Pennsylvania. I moved to Pittsburgh in 2008 for college. And while I was in college, I met some friends who invited me to, they said they were performing. And, I just assumed that they were a singer or, karaoke or something like that. And they took me to a ball. um, and that's how I got introduced to ballroom. Actually, Mother Mila Revlon that walked last night, she took me to a house meeting and introduced me to Kenny, Andrea, Naheem from True T, and a few other people. And that was my first group of friends in ballroom.
Were you a part of any of like gay families or anything like that?
Um, like the gay family or the gay family culture didn't really hit Pittsburgh.
And Erie is like, how far is that away?
It's about an hour and 45 minutes from
Yeah.
Pittsburgh. Yeah.
So it's probably not even that big of a gay
There's not
culture
really
there.
there's not really much of a gay scene there, but I think that my first like gay family experience was through ballroom. I grew up like very sheltered. I grew up in the church. I was very quiet. I didn't have like a outgoing personality when I came to ballroom.
Right.
I kind of opened up and like really grew into myself through like my cultural experiences through ballroom and um, like LGBTQ community work in
Right.
Pittsburgh.
Right. So, what was the first house you joined?
My first house was St. Clair.
Right.
I
And all
think,
the people you named, they was in St. Clair too?
yeah, it was me, Naheem, Mila, Drea, and Barbie. Um, and they were St. Clair's longer than me, but I was at St. Clair for about a year. And some things was happening. It was around the time they were getting ready to split, and we all left St. Clair and went to Ebony, and that's kind of where we really took off in ballroom or developed more of a name for ourselves.
And you went from St. Clair to Ebony,
Mm-hmm.
and then you was Ebony ever since, or before Machiavelli?
Um, I had a really short span. In between, I had left Ebony. I became an overseer in the House of Valentino when Valentino reopened. That was 2011. Yeah, somewhere around there. A Storm that used to be an Infinity. She was like, "I see leadership in you. You should come be a part of this." And I went there for a while, and that didn't last. And I went to Revlon, um, and then Barbie came to Revlon. I went to Revlon first, and then Barbie came to Revlon. And then that didn't work out for me. Um, it wasn't a bad experience though. I met
Right.
some really good folks who I still have relationships with, and I love and adore Father Tony. And I learned a lot of leadership things while I was there.
Mm-hmm.
But I just felt more comfortable and more at home in Ebony, so I went back to Ebony.
That's understandable. So when you first initially left Ebony, what made you want to leave?
Um, I'm gonna be honest. I was young and I was very, very, very passionate about my house. I was very invested in the house at that point, and they picked someone else over me to be overseer that didn't really have ballroom experience. Someone that really shouldn't have. I felt shouldn't have been a part of like the business of the chapter, and that made me want to leave.
Yeah. So, is that what made you said something fell out at St. Clair as well?
Um, well, not that something fell out. The house within itself, St. Clair, closed shortly
Dissolved.
after we all left. It dissolved. Aura left, and Sean stayed and kept the name. In the house split.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So it was messy.
I wouldn't say messy. I think we were really young and we weren't privileged to the proper conversations about what was going on with the house.
Right.
And there was a little bit of division with our own Pittsburgh chapter. Um, so, and we wanted to join a house where we felt like we could learn more and grow more and do more. At the time, so we ended up going to Ebony. It wasn't a planned thing. Like we sat down and said, okay, we all leave in Ebony. Ebony had an open house, and me and Barbie went together, and Naheem and Mila showed up together, and then at the next meeting, Drea came. So it just happened that we all expressed interest in this house, and then that's when we started having conversations about going over or whatever, and it happened.
So after you went to Ebony, you left Ebony, you went to Revlon. What made you want to leave Revlon? I know you said you felt more at home. Were there any events that took place that transpired that really inspired you to? Because changing houses is a big deal.
It is a big deal, and like, especially for me at that time, like now talking about it, it sounds like I was a house hopper, like I was in all these houses.
Right.
A lot of times I forget that I was even in these other houses. I really be feeling like I was a St. Clair and then I was an Ebony. You know what I mean? But stuff happens, and the Pittsburgh ballroom scene is a lot different than other cities. So, depending on who's in what houses, depending on, who is really running the show, So I want to say I left Ebony and went to Valentino and started my own chapter. I got a bunch of talented kids together, and I said, I'm going to prove to the Ebonies that I'm the overseer, and that. So I went to Valentino. I became overseer of the year. I became new house of the year, and things just didn't work out in the house. You know how it is with newer houses. Sometimes if you don't have the right leadership, and it's so many different visions and so much going on, it just didn't work out. So I left Valentino and went to Revlon. And I took my kids with me. So we started a chapter of Revlon here in Pittsburgh. And then I called Barbie, like, you need to come be a Revlon. And, we talked about it. And Father Tony made her mother. He seen mother in her. And I was a Revlon, a little bit past that. At this time, Vanessa Frost was a Revlon. Africa was a Revlon. There was a lot of Revlons. I met a lot of people during that time I was a Revlon. And Barbie stayed a Revlon, but, Kenny was here in Pittsburgh and was also a Revlon, and he was father Revlon. So it was like father and overseer, and it was like we really need to spread the politics out.
Right. Because it's not a small city, but like
there's nobody to battle.
Like, yeah. It's like Detroit. Like really any city when you really think about it. If the majority of people that are leading the scene are in the same house, what's the point?
Right. So Sheik left Ebony and went and started his own house. So I went back to Ebony and took Ebony over, and Kenny stayed at Revlon with Barbie. So we just kind of spread out the politics. But we're all, family and, friends and different things like that.
Right.
But that at the time, that was kind of the play.
Right. So how do you think Pittsburgh differs from other ballroom cities, just in general?
I think that we've always been secluded and did our own thing. I think that regardless of who was throwing balls where or who counted our balls for of the year, we stay within ourselves and stay consistent within ourselves. We have our own scene, and we don't allow outsiders to come in and to control and dictate what goes on and how we run things and how we do things. We do things on our own terms. And
do you think that's the reason why some people are scared of Pittsburgh? Because they can't come near their way to one?
Yes. I think anyone can come to Pittsburgh and be judged fairly. Anyone can come to Pittsburgh and be sad. It's not the politics that people pull in other cities. I love Pittsburgh. We always give our money out. It's, it's a smaller scene now.
Right.
But if you look at big name people in ballroom, or what some would consider big name people in ballroom, they've all come here and walked or won. There's been a lot of different people here. Laomi came here and won. Little James has come here and won multiple times. Like a lot of folks who like Toya Ebony, Bria Balenciaga. I could go on and on and on. People who have come.
People just hang on to those losses and they, exasperate it. Anytime somebody goes to a city, they travel and then they lose. First thing they say is, "I'm never coming back here," and they blame the city.
Yeah,
but they don't really miss. It may have been maybe they weren't on their top game, or maybe the judge just didn't see that, or it could be a plethora of reasons. So.
But you're going to get a battle when you come to Pittsburgh.
Right.
A lot of people look at Pittsburgh as a smaller scene and think easy win. We're a performance heavy city, but we got some voters. Like, people come to Pittsburgh and get done up all the time.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
I think the Midwest in general is performance heavy.
Yes.
You know, because like when you go to like the East Coast, that's where you see like they really care about those other categories. But here, the ball could be like nobody could be barely walking anything. Once they say performance
They
anything,
crowding the
yeah,
stage.
they crowd on the stage. It's a lot of people walking and it's competitive. So, I guess my next question would be like, I know you left Ebony and then you went over into Machiavelli.
Yeah.
So when you left Ebony, what inspired the change? And I know you eventually left Machiavelli too. Why did you leave Machiavelli as well? And you founded the house, so like you founded it
um.
and then left.
So when I left Ebony to go,
But like with the second time at that point.
yes.
Yeah.
So when I left Ebony, which I really feel like is my foundation. Um, um, at that point, I was like, the only reason I would leave Ebony would be to start my own house. You know what I mean? And it wasn't like I was unhappy. It wasn't like there was anything bad going on. I wanted to create a legacy of my own. I wanted to be a part of something new. I wanted to um, show ballroom another side of my leadership that they may
Right.
not be able to see because I've always played a behind the scenes role
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of things. So
Yeah.
um, I, 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 I was a co-founder. It was me, Mook, Ebony, Boogie, and Barbie. We sat down and had a conversation. They were already teamed up together and getting ready to start their own house after leaving Revlon or whatever happened with them in Revlon. And me and Mook always kind of worked together and supported each other. Baltimore at one point was like my second home.
Mm.
Um, so we came together and we were talking about doing something outside of Ebony. And I think Mook and Barbie had the first conversation, and they were like, "Oh, this is what we're doing. Oh, this is what we're doing," and it
Right.
just kind of led to, "Oh, let's all come together." Now,
Right.
me and Barbie kind of started ballroom together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we both were fresh in ballroom when we met, and we just started kind of doing ballroom together. Um, but Mook was a part of a group of Ebonies that would always come down to Pittsburgh and support. So we
Right.
also met Mook in our younger Ebony years and developed a relationship. And kind of how it is when you travel together.
Right. You create a
We
bond.
right. Cabbage, rest in peace, was the East Coast mother. So she would always get her region together to go to certain balls that were mandatory, and we were all under her region at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we built that relationship, and it just kind of stuck over the years.
So what was the fallout between you and Barbie? I know y'all cool now, but at the time, like she said, you had really disrespected her.
Um, I don't want to say I disrespected her. That's my sister. I love her to death. But I think that we just didn't see eye to eye about a few things, and that's okay. Like,
Right.
when you learn and grow with people, um, you're gonna clash, you're gonna bump heads, you're gonna have disagreements. It's okay to disagree and agree. Um, but for me, when I left Machiavelli, it was more so about um, not being able to contribute in ways that I really wanted to.
What was?
Um, I think that like I was doing a lot of like behind the scenes work, and I just really wanted to contribute more in face value. Um,
In face value, like be more seen or more appreciated or more celebrated.
I don't think it's ever about being seen. I think being more appreciated rather than being celebrated
Mm-hmm.
would be my thing. I felt really unappreciated at times. Um, but you have to also look at it like this as well. Me and Mook came with a group of people that were already our kids that we were working with. Barbie and Boogie came with a group of people that were majorly ex Revlons that they were already used to. So kind of merging these group of people together and people being used to certain people's leadership and different things like that. It was a lot of hurdles to work through as a group of young leaders developing a new house.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that Barbie was more hurt than disrespected by the things that I were coming to the table about. Um, and I just Mook left first, which kind of left it to just me, Barbie, and Boogie, and then Boogie passed right after, and it was really complicated. We were still grieving. We had a lot going on. We were trying to figure out how we were going to move
You left
forward
after Boogie died.
as a house,
Oh,
and it just came to a point where I would rather leave and try to keep the friendships and the bonds. Had I stayed, I don't think that we would have ever been able to recover our relationship.
right.
You know what I mean? So I was like, you can have it. This is you wanna be overall mother, you wanna be founding mother, and it fits you, and this is good for you, this is great for you. And I've done all that I can do. I've done the best that I can contribute to get us to this point. I'm gonna go do this, and I still love and support you. I'm gonna still love and support you moving forward. And I have, and I think it worked. I think it's worked. It works, and we're friends and we're brother and sister and we spend time together and, it's great and it's going great. And I like that and I want that. You know what I mean? I don't want to ever sever a 15-year relationship over a ballroom business or ballroom house or,
That makes sense.
yeah.
So I'm glad that y'all like work past your issues. Sometimes like distance is the best.
Yeah.
Because just, if it's already like toxic energy, just wallowing in that and just staying in that can like make it explode. So I definitely understand what you say there. I'm glad you cleared it up. And like I said, I'm glad y'all worked past it.
Yeah.
So then you went back to Ebony for the third time. What what position do you have now?
I'm an overseer in the house of Ebony. I'm also the treasurer of the house.
Do you want to be the father?
No, I don't think father fits me.
Why not?
I don't know. I just, well, first of all, I always look at the fathers in the house of Ebony and I always think of Roy, Larry, Dre. I think of these thug realness figures. I think of Jihad and I think of Bam and others. And that's not really my mantra. Like, I bring something unique to the table. I'm very business savvy. I'm an organizer. Um, and that's where I flourish. And I really think that that is like fluid or parallel with the overseer role.
Right. Did they feel any type of way about, any other times that you left? Like, did they ever make it or make it hard for you to come back?
Thankfully, I never left on bad terms and it was always love. And it was always situations where I consulted with the overall leadership and talked to the overall leadership and let them know in a respectful way what my concerns were and why I was leaving. I think this most recent time, they were a little hard on me, like, oh, you ain't leaving no more. You leave, we're going to jump you,
Right.
joking or whatever the case may be. But this is my bloodline and I learned ballroom through the house of Ebony. When I was growing up in Ebony, I was looking at Cabbage, Uncle Mike, Tim, and Dexter. And that was always what I aspired to bring to the table to the house.
Right.
And it's family. So it was never like a negative thing or a toxic thing. It was like, oh, come back. Like, this is your family. And I have a really good relationship and a really good love and respect for the icon founding father Larry. So, that always worked in my favor because he's like, oh, that's my son. We love him. Like, come here. And when I left to start Machiavelli, they were very supportive. Like, they were like, oh, this is another house that has, come from our lineage. You know what I mean? Similar to Prodigy and other houses, when people move on and start their own, like it was definitely a love and respect. A lot of people reached out, especially Dre, expressing love, and respect, for the house and, guidance and Uncle Mike used to, get on the phone with me and Barbie a few times and, just give advice and talk to us about, different things and, just give direction and that's always love. So
No, definitely.
Never been weird, with going back.
Right. So I know like most of your ballroom career, I say that in quotes, quotation marks, air quotes rather. You've mainly been focused on leadership.
Mhm.
I know you like walked a few categories, but it's never really been like a focus. So what all categories have you focused?
My first category was best dress. I walked best dress heavy for like maybe the first year that I walked that category. I walked Havoc and She used to do a ball called the Comic Con ball. I walked that and won. That was my first time actually walking a ball and walking as an Ebony was the Black Gay Pride ball. These balls used to be a really big deal in Pittsburgh. I walked that ball with Mother Katrina um, from Philly, who lives in Florida now. We won best dress that night. Um, I won a few other things, and then I was also very young, so I was still growing in size.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't like 6'8" yet, so
Right. Yeah,
as
you
I
are
was
tall.
growing, I was like, okay, I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna do sneaker versus sneaker. So I walked sneaker versus sneaker a few times. Um, love that. Walk streetwear a few times. Love that. But as I'm walking and winning, um, I'm also investing time and energy into the house. My leadership is being recognized, and I'm starting to be pulled in other avenues. So when you're getting kids together and you're planning balls and you're promoting balls and you're help organizing things with your house, it kind of takes away from you preparing to walk a ball.
Yeah.
So if I just walked realness, it would be easy to just come out there and walk realness. But that wasn't my category. You know what I mean? At the time, I walk
And
every
even then, sometimes it might, because sometimes realness is just you come out as yourself, but sometimes realness is, you have to bring it like something,
right.
and that takes
It takes a
preparation.
lot of preparation. So getting people together, traveling people, organizing, doing different things, it kind of takes away that energy away from walking balls. Well, it did at least for me.
Hmm.
And now in most recent years, I've walked Everyday Realness a few times. Um, but I've kind of like solidified myself with, the work that I do. And I really found my niche and stuck to it, and it's worked for me.
Yeah.
Um, I I think that I'm one of the folks that really preserved Pittsburgh ballroom scene and kept it alive and kept it relevant. Before me, it was Chris Balenciaga, um, and he did an amazing job, and he took
Hmm.
time off, to become a professor to get his doctorates and different things like that. And people like me and True T and Dina and Kenny stepped in and really um, began to do more events and create more safe spaces for the community. Ballroom is really, I think, important to the gay culture in Pittsburgh, even outside of throwing and walking balls and traveling. We center Vogue in a lot of other spaces.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I think ballroom is so important to specifically Black gay culture.
Hmm.
A lot of times, I know in my day growing up, LGBT rights and LGBT equality meant for the white gay. So, for as strong and influential that ballroom is, it literally gives people a space and opportunity to better themselves if they take it. So, definitely. Um, is there anything, like any piece of advice that you would give to somebody that's seeking out to be a leader, or maybe even new leaders that, are trying to find their way? What advice would you give them towards leading a group of adults or adults?
Be true to yourself. Set boundaries within. Create boundaries with your house children. Create boundaries with your house and your overall leadership, and stick to that and stand firm in that. Um, I think that moving with intention and being intentional about what you're doing and why you're doing it is also important, because there's so many times where you get discouraged or things happen and you're like, dang, why am I doing this? um,
No, for real.
but when you have purpose and meaning behind it, and you're moving with intent, you're forever working towards something. Um, so for me, um, those are kind of like my core values and leadership.
Just me having a leadership position before, I could probably write like a small book on the things that I have endured. You have to be physically, emotionally, financially sometimes even spiritually available for, I mean, not only just ballroom stuff, people be going through real life stuff. So what is the craziest instance of where you had to like in your leadership where you had to just deal with something?
Um, um, I think the hardest thing for me is um, losing house children, nieces, nephews, kids, um, having to plan a funeral or um, support their biological family in those times. That has been the hardest for me. I've lost some very um, important people in ballroom. Um,
Like, for
um, I my son passed. He was at Ebony. He was here in the Pittsburgh chapter. His name is Tony. Um, and that was really hard for me. um, and also my niece Lavish from Detroit. We were very, very close. And I think for me, that's the hardest part. Um, Everything else just kind of comes natural. Just being a nurturer, being a father, being an uncle, being a godfather. Um, those are just kind of skills that I possess. And I think that um, people cling to me because they see that in me. I don't just go out looking for kids saying, oh, come be my kid, come be my niece. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that the work that I do outside of ballroom also ties into my role in ballroom and being able to connect people to tangible resources that are much needed. I think that people have barriers to healthcare, barriers to housing, barriers to, a lot of different things. Um, and just kind of being someone who's able to bridge that gap. Um, it's fulfilling, but it's also stressful, right? Because I don't just provide services to people that I get along with. I also provide services to people that may not like me or that may drag me through the mud a little bit. You know what I mean? But that's not why I'm in this. I'm not in this for that. I'm in this to help people. But that definitely
It's challenging when you
is
got to wear those
challenging.
different hats.
Yes.
Because you in the scene and you got to deal with this shade in the scene, but your activism work is a much bigger picture than personal grievances with
And they
other
will
people.
try to use what's going on in ballroom against you in your career.
They will?
Yes, they will. They have with me. They have
In
sent
what
emails.
ways?
They have showed up at my job.
Showed up at your job.
Yes. Over ballroom disagreements
Like what? Like what ballroom disagreement would have somebody show up at your job?
I'm not even gonna lie. I was involved in a physical altercation at the bar one time. This was years ago. I'm saved now, but but these people were trying to send videos to my job and call my boss and different things like that. Luckily, I have a good rapport. I have good skills. I have good relationships, and people know me and know how to deal with me and know what comes along with me. You know what I mean? My current job that I've been at for 7 years. Um, I've been with this company for 7 years, and luckily they have an understanding of the scene and what goes on, and that there's infighting and things happen or whatever the case may be. But people would try to snatch your bag. People would try to snatch your man. They would do anything to try and, knock you off your square.
Yeah, trust me, I know. But that's at least it didn't work. So it's fortunate that you saw through that.
Yeah, and I mean one job that I was at, there was a lot going on. There was a lot of infighting, and it was a nice project. And I kind of outgrew that anyway and moved on to another job. Thank God I have the experience and education, and it kind of just worked for me. But sometimes you got to move on. If your employer or your boss doesn't have an understanding of the different projects and the different cultures you're a part of, and they act like it's too much for them, that's not the job for you. Right. You know what I mean? I need people to understand that I do have a platform, and I am involved in a lot of different arenas, and there are backlash or people that may be upset with me at times because of decisions I have to make as a leader. and as a man or whatever the case may be. But don't try to use me up for my platform to get numbers and throw me away. You know what I mean? You have to understand what goes along with the community. Um, when you hire within the community, this is what comes along with the community. You have to be prepared to deal with that.
Have you ever dealt with a situation where you're dealing with a liaison of agency or a company or something like that, and they are very understanding, but then maybe things change at the company and now somebody else is working there and it creates a problem?
Yes. The first organization I was working at was Pittsburgh Gays Task Force,
Mm-hmm.
and they were in the process of changing from just a normal nonprofit that offers like pantry and case management services to adding a medical component. And they're now allies for health and well-being. And they were in transition of leadership at the time. And I really loved my job. I really loved a lot of the people I worked with, but that was hard for me. And it was hard for me to deal with the leadership changes at the time. So I gracefully left and resigned and put my notice in and just found another job, and I still have an amazing working relationship with them because of the work I did there. And they still sponsor balls and table and work with me and, discuss with me. You have to deal with people and things. You don't burn bridges. You have to deal with people a certain type of way. So just having that level of respect from different places I've been, I don't think that I've ever had a job that wouldn't want me back. You know
Right.
what I mean? Because I'm very clear. I think that's why I was also able to come back to my house, my home,
Right.
because,
Right.
I'm very transparent, clear, and respectful. That's just who I am.
Right. And I think once you leave somewhere, they probably will realize what you contributed even more so after you had left because
Yes.
now it's gone. So that's dope. And I'm glad to really get this snapshot of basically like a Midwest or East Coast, whatever. I
In
don't know.
between.
In between leader. We were talking about that before the interview. We don't know what the hell Pittsburgh is
If you
considered.
Google Pittsburgh, it says Gateway to the Midwest. And they've been welcoming and warm. And there's a lot of history with the Midwest and with Pittsburgh if you go back. Like,
No, like anytime I'm at the Pittsburgh ball, half of the not half, but like a good portion of the crowd is like from Detroit,
hmm
from Chicago, from Ohio,
yeah,
really Ohio. So it's like
there was a lot of forays in Pittsburgh and Cleveland and Detroit, and they used to all support each other and
yeah,
battle and
yeah. So I do feel like you said, I do feel like Pittsburgh is closer to the Midwest than the East Coast. I don't even know.
But we're in Pennsylvania, so it's
Right?
crazy.
Do Philadelphia even come to Pittsburgh like that?
Yeah.
But not as much as Detroit.
Well, it's weird. Albernians always supported Pittsburgh and came and been a part of what's going on in ballroom in Pittsburgh.
Right.
The Prodigies come here a lot. There was Prodigies here this past weekend.
Right.
There's a lot of people from Philadelphia that has came and walked here and supported over the years. I think that because New York City and DC is a lot closer to them, they travel to those areas more. I think
And those areas they have longer ballroom history, so
right,
put them on a hierarchy.
right. But Pittsburgh gets a lot of support from the OKI, from Cleveland, from Detroit. Um, and I think it's also the people that are here and the relationships that we build over time.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. So, that's dope. Like I said, I appreciate just having your insight on stuff and just your knowledge and the things that you picked up along the way.
Thank you.
So my last question, I ask everybody that come here is to describe yourself in 5 words for that.
Okay. Um, I like to say that I am funny, um, outgoing, genuine, loyal. I'm a person of integrity, regardless of what I have going on with people. I always try to make the best decisions with integrity. Um, I'm intentional. Um, everything has a reason. Um, everything happens for a reason.